Hello everybody, my name is Dean. Welcome to Books and Quirks. Today is Friday, so it's time for a Friday Reads. And I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, so I finished quite a lot, and I'm quite far ahead, I think, in my Monsterathon TBR for the month as well. So I'm just going to tell you everything that I read and everything that I'm currently reading. So let me just get right into it. So the first thing that I finished were a few books in the Karen Marie Moning Fever series, and this is also part of my Monsterathon TBR. So I finished book number 6, which is Iced, and this book revolves mostly around Danny, the character of Danny, and I really enjoyed this book. I mean, not as much, I will always love Mac and Barron's more. If you're not familiar with the series, I've been talking about this the whole time. It's a series that's seemingly going to go on forever. But this is a urban fantasy series by Karen Marie Moning. Takes place in Ireland and is also a romance. Books 1 through 5 focus on two characters, Mac, short for Michaela, and Barron's, who owns a bookshop, and their relationship and their romance as well. And book number 6 revolves around Danny, who is a secondary character in the first 5 books. So this challenge fit the challenge of what big eyes you have. This was a challenge of reading a book more than 400 pages. So I read Iced, and I went on to read book number 7, which is Burned, which fit challenge number 3, which was Chimera. So that, I think, was a challenge where a book had to fit like multiple genres. So yeah, I really enjoyed the series. I went on after that. I'm currently on book number 10, which I'll talk about, but that is that fit those 2 challenges. And yeah, so that was that fit 2 challenges for my Monsterathon TBR. The next book that I finished was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I actually listened to this on audiobook because it was available in audiobook through Scribd, which I subscribed to. So I decided to listen to it through audiobook. I read the first 2 chapters in this physical copy, but then I listened to the rest. And I thought the narration was really good. So this is about Elizabeth Frankenstein. So Elizabeth is a little girl brought in, or she is brought to the Frankenstein mansion as a little girl to befriend Victor. Victor is a very, he's kind of a loner. He doesn't do well in social situations, and they need somebody who can sort of be there as a friend, calm him down, because he tends to have very violent kind of outbursts. And she kind of fulfills that role, and she's taken out of a very abusive relationship on her own. And as they grow up, they form a very close bond, and they wind up getting married. But this book follows her perspective. So she is kind of on the outside, or seemingly on the outside, looking in around the entire events of the Frankenstein, the real book, and what happens with the monster and everything else. I found this book to really be so entertaining. I absolutely loved it. I knew that I would probably like a book by Kiersten because I like the End I Darkened series by her, although I still haven't read the last book. But anyway, I really found this to be so intriguing. And, as she follows Victor and finds out more about some of the secrets that he's been keeping from her. So I really enjoyed this book, and I'm so glad I read it. And this fulfills the Monsterathon challenge of classic creepers, which is read a book with a classic monster character, which is Frankenstein. The next book that I finished was for the Monsterathon challenge of read a graphic novel with monsters, and that was Locke and Key by Joe Hill. So Locke and Key is a graphic novel. I read the first volume, and I read it on my Kindle because it was free. And so yeah, if you want to read it, it's free on Amazon. Yeah, it was good. I don't really enjoy graphic novels as much as most people do. I found it to be very, very creepy. I just found it to be, okay. It was enjoyable, but it was a quick read. I read it in one sitting. It's about 160 pages. I thought the artwork was pretty good, and I thought the creepy aspect was pretty good. It doesn't creep me out as much as, you know, novels do, but it was still a very enjoyable read. And this is about a house where there are different doors, and if you have the right key to the door, they bring you into other kind of worlds and places, and different things happen when you go through these doors. And there is a monster that has been locked up in the well also, and you know, there's murders. There's a lot that happens in this series, and I'm glad I read it. And it was pretty good. That fulfilled that challenge. The next book I finished was Finders Keepers by Stephen King. This fulfilled the Monsterathon challenge of read a book where there are humans that, you know, monstrous humans, basically humans that act as monsters. And this follows, you know, basically a serial killer. So this is the second book in the Bill Hodges trilogy. Mr. Mercedes is the first book, Finders Keepers is the second book, and the third book is The Watchers. I found this book to be really enjoyable, especially the second half. If I'm going to be completely honest, the first half was a little bit boring. Oh, I actually have this dust cover on backwards here. But the first half was really boring, and Bill Hodges really didn't come into the picture until like halfway through. So I was unsure how this book connected to the first book, or if it connected to the first book at all. But it does, and it was really enjoyable once I got past that, you know, first half of the book. So this doesn't take off right away, but once I got through that first half, I really enjoyed it and really couldn't wait to get to the end. So, and I love this cover. So other than that, that was really everything I read. I read 4 books in the Karen Marie Moning series. Book 6, Iced. Book 7, Burned. Book 8, Fever Born, I think. Book 9, Fever Song. And now I'm currently reading book 10, which is High Voltage. So if you are familiar with the Karen Marie Moning series, books 1 through 5 follow Mac and Barons. Book 6 follows Danny. But book 7, 8, and 9 follow everyone again, especially focusing very much on Mac and Barons again. So we don't leave them behind. We get to still follow them in the next books. Book 6 and the current book that I'm reading, book 10, are all around Danny though. So just beware if you're familiar with the Karen Marie Moning series and you haven't gotten this far. Book 6 and 10 are revolving around Danny. I really love this because at this point, Danny is much older. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't say anything further than that. But yeah, this book follows Danny. There's still a lot of things happening with the Fae and a lot of things happening as a result of what happens in the first book. So I don't want to say anything specific because I'm going to spoil it. But yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's slow go. It's not as fast paced as the previous books. So I started book 10 like the beginning of the week and I still haven't finished. I'm only like a little bit more than halfway through. So I'm going to be continuing on with that this weekend and I hope to get a good chunk of it done. The next book that I'm going to read this weekend is the short story that is part of my group Monsterathon read for the month. And that is Come Lady Death, and that is in the short story collection of Unnatural Creatures, edited or compiled by Neil Gaiman. So I have that book already. I plan to read that short story because every group, whether you're part of the Hans group like I am, or the conspiracy group, there's a short story that the group is reading as a whole, and I will be reading that short story this weekend also. Another book that I'm currently reading is The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. I'm currently reading this as part of a buddy read with Sean of On the Stoop, and I am loving this. So as you can see from this cover, this is an alternate history book. It was a bestseller. It's really popular. I don't know if you heard of it. This follows a Jewish family in 1941 and 1942. And since this is an alternate history, it proposes a history where the Axis powers won, where instead of President Roosevelt at this time, President Lindbergh, or Charles Lindbergh, the famous aviator, he won against Roosevelt in 1941 in this book. And he is pro-Nazi, very much friends with Hitler, and he reveres Hitler. So in this book, it follows, Lindbergh as president, the slow descent of the morals of the country, anti-Semitism coming to the forefront. It follows in this family, it's told from the viewpoint of an 8-year-old boy. I think he's 8 or 9. I'm not sure. And he collects stamps, which is why you see the stamp with the swastika on it, because that's kind of the world where he lives. So I find this book fascinating, especially because it's so scary, because it could have happened. In real life, Lindbergh was a fascist. He was very much a proponent of Hitler, very much a proponent of Nazism. And it just relates so much to society today with Trump. I won't get into that, but I just, I really am fascinated by this. We are about a third of the way, or actually almost halfway through, and we'll be finishing it up. It's a 9-day read, and today will be 5 days in, so we'll finish it by the end of this coming week. And yeah, I find it really fascinating. I wanted to give this book a go for a while because I've heard such great things about it. And yeah, it's just the cover is a little disturbing with the swastika there. But yeah, I just really am so enjoying this and seeing how if history had gone another way, how horrific it could have been. So really enjoying this reading it with Sean. We're reading about 40 to 50 pages a day. And yeah, we will finish this during the week. So that is it. That is all I have for you. I hope you all are having a good week. Fall weather has arrived, although the temperature will go up again in the next couple of days. But I hope you had a good, cooler week wherever you are. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. And I will talk to you all very, very soon.